Hi, I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and this is my video of simple daffodils drawing in watercolor demonstration. I recently had an explosion of daffodils in my garden, and they are so bright and so beautiful. A lot of other friends have too. We had a sudden frost, and one friend had to bring in a lot of flowers because they were drooping so badly. She was afraid they were going to be killed off entirely by the frost. Once she got them inside, I told her she should paint them. And she said, I'm not so sure about even drawing daffodils. I decided I was going to draw some daffodils and put it on video, and maybe it would help some people to get it all figured out. So this is my take on drawing daffodils. I hope you enjoy it and give it a thumbs up. Now let's paint. One of the best ways I know to learn how to draw something is to actually have it with you and holding it in your hand if possible, picking it up and turning it around. When I draw a daffodil, the first thing to note for me is that there are 6 petals on the bottom. Now 3 of these petals overlap the bottom ones, so they are on top. And then there's 3 petals that are underneath those top overlapping ones, so they sort of just stick out. Once you got that, you got your basic daffodil form. And you can put the fold lines down the middle. I'm doing a little erasing to make some room for the cylinder that comes out in the top. That makes the daffodils so fancy. Now the top of the cylinder I'm drawing as a fluffy, squiggly line. But when I look at the side view of the daffodil, when I turn it slightly, I see that it fits onto the bottom petals, almost in a geometrical type of formation. If you can draw a can or a jar, you can probably draw the cylinder of a daffodil. Along that outside cylinder, sometimes there are ridges, and sometimes you see the ridges on the inside as well. You might see some of the inside of the flower, like the pistil and the stamen, and then the stem is drawn in a curved formation. It almost always is for daffodils. Changing the point of view, I'm drawing a second daffodil. And I'm drawing what I see. These are the petals on the outside that I see. If there's a petal hidden by that inner cylinder, I'm not going to draw it. If it just shows as a little tip, then I'll just draw a little tip. Whatever I see, and that's what I'm drawing. A little erasing, and I'm ready to draw the center. And one more time, I draw this 6-petaled exterior, and then that cylinder in the center that is all covered with ruffly, frilly edges. My daffodils are all facing in a slightly different direction. I'm drawing the inside of the daffodil. I'm putting on the ridges that I see on the inside, and they all radiate outward from the center. I'll draw the little squiggly interior. And in this case, I don't seem to be seeing much of the outside of the cylinder. Next, I went out to the garden and picked a daffodil leaf. They are pretty easy to draw. They're just tall, slender, delicate leaves. So I put a couple of them in. Going over the drawing of a daffodil again. We got 3 outer petals that are overlapping. Then we have 3 that are underneath of them. Next we have a simple cylinder coming up from that base. Some folds in the outer leaves, and then the frilly edges all around. The cylinders can appear slightly geometrical. Each bottom corresponding to a petal on the bottom. That's the simplest breakdown I can give you. Since I had this all drawn out, I thought I might as well get my watercolors out and have some fun playing around with watercolor in just a simple, quick format. Looking at the first one, this daffodil, which was planted when I moved into my home already, has an almost pink or apricot pink type of center, and it's very pretty. There's also some green down at the bottom, and that sort of shows through in an interesting way. So I'm painting in some green. I'm using cadmium yellow. And for that pink center, I'm going to use a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to use a little bit of permanent pink. I outlined some of the ridges with yellow. And now I'm outlining the frills with my mixture of pink and cadmium yellow. I also did a little bit of shading with some Payne's gray mixed with a tiny bit of violet for those very white exterior petals. Now I'm simply blending that color that I put down for the frilly edge downward into the center, and then using a little water to spread it around. Since I painted those lines going down, those folds in the cylinder, and then went over top of them with water, they remained to a small and blurry extent. And that is a nice way to approach flowers too, to just soften what you paint for detail. I'm using that gray mix for the exterior petals because they're so very light. They wouldn't even show up against the white paper if I didn't use a little shading or color. Adding a little bit of detail to the center with some cadmium yellow. I'm ready to move on to the next daffodil. And for this one, I'm outlining all the petals with cadmium yellow alone. I'm putting in the center fold. And then I'm detailing the center of the cylinder part of the daffodil. First, that frilly outer edge with a little cadmium orange. And to make it brighter, I added some vermilion. Now I'm bringing down those ridges that are showing in that cylinder. Again, they're radiating outward from the center. adding some more color to the outer petals. Nice bright yellow. And then moving on to the third daffodil, I'm putting down some more cadmium yellow. And you see where I've added my ridge lines to the cylinder of the center. I'm now adding some stems. Mix together some sap green and some hooker's green dark. I'm trying to paint them in a way that would show that they are shaded on one side and lighter on the other. Coming back to my last daffodil, I am adding a lighter tone on top of that bright cadmium orange I did for the ridges. I've added some more cadmium yellow to it, and you could see the ridges showing through the lighter color that I just added to the cylinder center. I'm enhancing them a little bit with some more vermilion. And then I'm using my same purple and Payne's gray shading to add some shadows to the outer petals of the second daffodil. That bit of violet interacts very strongly with the yellow, and they sort of neutralize each other because they're complementary colors on the color wheel. And I think they make a pretty decent shadow color. And then I do the same for the next daffodil. The petals that are overlapping are putting the shadows on the petals on the bottom. I'm adding a bit of detail in a pale color onto the outer petals. You can also see that I've left some whites in the petals of the yellow and orange daffodils. I think the whites add some freshness, and you can cover them over if you prefer. I prefer to leave some whites because I think it looks pretty. And one of my teachers once told me that whites make watercolors appear to sparkle. So, sparkly daffodils sounds good to me. I put down a center line, and then I used a lighter color to paint on each side of that center line of dark for the leaves, and you could see that it spread out the color nicely. I hope you enjoyed my demonstration video. Simple daffodils watercolor demonstration. Drawing flowers, it really helps me to actually have them in my hands. So maybe you'll try that too. I hope you enjoyed my video and you'll give it a thumbs up. You can check out some links below where you can check out my Facebook art page, some products that I like to use when I paint, some products that I've created, and different things with my art on them. I also have a blog link below, which my blog talks about art and life with art and many other topics of interest. Keep on painting, and I'll see you next video.